36-year-old husband uses one simple trick to improve his health. No one ever thought a friendly hormone inside your body could turn bad so quickly. A faulty glitch in one of your most powerful organs sends this fat-storing fluid straight into your bloodstream. And before long, the damage is already done. What's worse is the effects come on slowly, so you'll never feel a thing, while your pancreas keeps misfiring massive amounts of this heavy hormone, forcing you to store belly fat at a faster rate, no matter how many fruits and vegetables you eat. Hi, my name is Josh, and just a short time ago, a horrifying family photo on a trip to a bird park in Tennessee with my wife ignited the shocking spark that led to one of the biggest breakthroughs in the health and weight loss world for men and women with 15 or more pounds to lose. A discovery so rare. Overall, I melted away 110 pounds and 26 inches from my belly and waist without a single struggle when nothing ever worked for me before. That's right, 110 pounds of pressure lifted off my knees, back, and joints. Going from this to this. All by doing a simple morning detox trick and cutting out 2 healthy fruits that caused my body to store over 100 pounds of fat. And more importantly, the visceral fat that was wrapped around my heart, lungs, and arteries was completely gone. And the best part was, I had even more time to enjoy the things I loved. So if you've been struggling to lose weight, and if you're completely and incredibly frustrated because nothing ever works for you, then hopefully my story will help you. The good news is, if you finally want to lose weight without counting calories or killing yourself in the gym, then you're in the right place at the exact right time. Because I'll share with you the 2 fat-storing fresh fruits that you must absolutely avoid if you're struggling to burn fat. I know most of what I share with you here today may be extremely controversial, because we've been brainwashed to believe all fruits and veggies are healthy for us. Yet after losing over 100 pounds after carrying it around for years, I know what worked for me, and I can't wait to share it with you. When I was 300 pounds, I developed some serious knee and ankle issues from supporting all that extra weight. And I could barely even exercise, which is exactly what makes this secret so powerful. Because anyone can do it. However, first I want to share something with you that I haven't told anyone. Not my friends, not my parents, and not even my wife of over 15 years. So here's the God's honest truth. It sucks being fat. And I should know. Up until a few years ago, I spent almost my entire life overweight. And as hard as it is for me to talk about, I know my story might help you when no one else understands what you're going through. So here's the quick story. Since I was a kid, I've struggled with my weight. All the way back to elementary school, kids would make fun of me, call me names, and bully me constantly. I learned at a pretty young age how cruel the world can be. Every day I woke up was the worst day of my life. I would come home from school, run into the bathroom, lock the door, and just stare in the mirror asking why. Why did I have to look the way I did? Why did the other kids have to be so cruel? And even then, long before high school, I sometimes thought about ending it. I thought about it more than once. I figured if I wasn't here, then I wouldn't have to feel the pain anymore. And although I never acted on those thoughts, I always wondered why being overweight caused everyone to be so mean. The years passed and I kept getting bigger. The weight seemed to keep piling on. I would eat to distract myself from the pain I was feeling. The pain of being made fun of every day. The pain of not having many friends. The pain of getting shoved to the ground or things thrown at me as I walked by. Just cruel. Looking back, the worst day of my life was when I started middle school. I was actually excited, thinking it would be a fresh start. I thought if I was friendly and nice to people, they wouldn't pick on me so much. Sadly, those dreams didn't last long. I remember waking up, trying to find something to wear. This was always the worst part of the morning for me, because none of my clothes ever fit. I had to suck in just to pull up and button my jeans. My shirts were always skin tight, not because I wanted them to be, simply because I was so overweight. My shirts would cling to my body and really show my shape, which is exactly what I was trying to hide whenever I left the house. It was like going swimming in a t-shirt, nothing was left to the imagination. Then I would head to the bathroom, brush my teeth, and stare at my double chin and fat cheeks. It was a horrible daily remember of how fat I was. If I could, I would have gotten rid of every single mirror in that house. That morning I went to the bus stop, still clinging to the hope that going to a new school would be different. Maybe a few more people would accept me. Maybe I'd find a few friends to sit with at lunch. Maybe someone would even let me sit with them on a bus. Yet, when the bus arrived, I quickly realized that nothing was going to change. As I walked down the aisle, looking for a seat, I could already hear the other kids laughing at me. Look at the pig. Hey fat butt. Hope you eat the teachers so we get out of class earlier. And of course, no one would let me sit by them. The verbal abuse was just so hard. I wanted to cry. Yet deep down I knew that it'd only make things worse. And even though this was by far the worst time in my life, where I was so miserable I didn't even want to go out in public or even stand in front of mirror in the morning. It was also the start of my journey. Time passed and things didn't get any easier. I was depressed. Never wanted to get out of bed in the morning. And honestly, I grew to hate my own life. I still remember one day at lunch during high school. I was looking for a table when one of the popular kids walked by, bumped into me on purpose, then shoved me to the ground. I fell flat on my face. Food went flying everywhere, all over my clothes. And all I could do was pick up my tray and keep walking to my table. I was so embarrassed, yet as sad as it is to say. That was just a normal day for me. And now that I'm at a point where I'm trying to start a family, I can't imagine my kids going through what I had to go through growing up. My heart breaks just thinking about it. However, looking back at that day, getting shoved to the ground and being a school-wide embarrassment, was the single day that everything changed for me. See, when I finally got to my lunch table, one of the few friends I had made asked me this something. And as strange as it sounds, no one ever asked me this before. He said, "Josh, why haven't you tried to lose weight? Maybe those bullies would stop picking on you so much." This was the first time anyone ever mentioned the idea to me. Sure, I was made fun of all the time because I was fat. But the idea that I could change it, that I actually had control over my body and how I looked, was something that never crossed my mind. I thought I was simply born with bad genetics and there wasn't anything I could do about it. And that day at lunch was the day everything changed for me. I couldn't stop thinking about losing weight. I thought about it all day. And of course, my mind was coming up with every excuse in the book. I don't know where to start. What exactly is a diet? How would it work? Would I have to starve myself and stop eating? When I got home that night, after another long day of being bullied and ruthlessly picked on right to my face, I asked my mom what she knew about losing weight. A little stunned, she asked why I was concerned about my weight. I never told her about the bullying at school. And that's when I snapped, and the floodgates opened. I broke down. Everything came flushing out. It was as if all the pain, all the anger, and all the sadness I'd been holding on to for years came gushing out. I remember bawling and saying, "Look at me, Mom, I'm hideous. I look like a pig and I can't take it anymore." Shocked, she just stood there and listened. She had no idea where this was coming from. I kept it hidden and bottled up for so long. After I calmed down, we started seriously talking about losing weight. She was a great mom and thought I looked amazing, however deep down she could tell this was something I really wanted. She said she'd heard about this new diet called the Slim Fast diet. A few of her friends at work were doing it and losing a lot of weight, and all you have to do is drink a few shakes per day. And so that's what we did. I wasn't even 16 years old yet and I was on my first diet. And definitely not my last. The thing is, after the first week the scale already started to drop. For the first time in my life, I had a sense of control over my body. Eventually weeks became months, and I lost over 15 pounds. I felt amazing and I remember thinking those are 15 pounds I'll never have to see again. My clothes started to fit. I had more energy. And even though I had a lot more weight to lose, the scale was finally going down for the first time in my life. Then, the unthinkable happened. Out of nowhere, both of my parents lost their jobs. And since Slim Fast was expensive, it was one of the first things to go. By then I was down over 25 pounds. Yet just a few months later, I had gained all the weight back and even more. That's the problem with the quick fix diets that don't rely on real food. Once you get off them, the weight comes back fast. And it all came to a head years later when my wife and I took a family vacation to Gatlinburg, Tennessee. On the last day of our trip, we visited this bird park near Dolly World. It was incredible. There were all these exotic birds everywhere and unlike anything I had ever seen before. And while we were there, we came across this booth where you could take pictures with the birds sitting on your shoulders. I was extremely hesitant at first, because the years of bullying ruined my self-confidence and I grew to hate getting pictures taken. After all, we never even took photos at our own wedding because I absolutely hated looking at myself. However, my wife convinced me like she always does and we took the photo. We were hoping to see it as soon as possible, however it had to be printed out and some other people were in line before us. So we finished the tour and by the time we were done, our photos were ready. As strange as it sounds, this weird photo became the turning point in my life to dropping over 100 pounds. When they finished the tour and got our pictures, I was shocked. I looked huge. It hit me like a ton of bricks because I wasn't just a little overweight. I was easily over 300 pounds. We went back to the cabin, and I asked my wife if I had really put on that much weight. And she said, "Well, yeah, but I love you regardless, so it doesn't really matter to me." That photo turned my world upside down. All of a sudden, the same feelings and emotions from high school came rushing back. Those feelings of being alone, depressed, miserable, unloved. It only took one picture to bring all of those horrible feelings back. I was in denial. And it took me days to accept the fact that I was still that same person who got picked on every day so many years ago. That's when I told my wife that something had to change. Listen, there's going to come a time when you finally reach your breaking point and you realize that something has to change. Maybe you've been frustrated with your weight for a while now. Maybe you felt unloved and alone for far too long. Maybe you had a horribly embarrassing moment like I had, where it triggers this mental shift in your brain, and you decide right then and there that you're not going to take it anymore. Whatever it is, reaching your breaking point is the best thing that will ever happen to you. It'll save your life. It'll jumpstart your weight loss in ways you can't even imagine. Because when that drive and determination kicks in, and you take all that built-up frustration and anger from years of low self-esteem, others making fun of you behind your back, and maybe even feelings of depression. You take all of that and finally put it towards something powerful and positive. Which is you taking back your life and getting the body of your dreams so you can look and feel absolutely amazing every day of the week. And visibly show everyone who doubted you just how wrong they were. That same frustration led me to one of the world's best fat loss experts named Derek Waller. See, I finally made the decision that I absolutely had to lose the weight, yet the problem was, I was working over 50 hours a work at a job I hated. And the moment I got home at night after a long day at work, the last thing I wanted to do was eat a healthy dinner or go hit the gym. And after meeting Derek through some mutual friends, and basically pouring out my life story about being overweight my entire life, being ridiculed and made fun of mercilessly for over a decade, and how all the traditional advice of dieting and exercising more just wasn't going to work with me because deep down I knew I'd never stick with it for more than a few days. He sent me a text that transformed my life forever. It turns out a lot of his clients were suffering from this almost unknown condition that automatically takes most of the food you eat and stores it as fat on your body instead of using it for energy. A few days later, I went to see Dr. Travis Bowles and got checked out for myself. Being over 300 pounds, it was a pretty humiliating experience even just taking my shirt off in front of my doctor. And after running a handful of tests, he came back in and looked at me straight in the eye. I could tell how serious he was. My palms were getting sweaty and I could feel the hair in the back of my neck stand up as I braced myself for the bad news. He went on to say that my blood sugar was extremely high. I had an increased risk for heart hypertension. And worst of all, I was pre-diabetic. Which basically meant I was right on the edge of having type 2 diabetes, and if I didn't change soon, I'd become diabetic. And then came the final blow that almost knocked me off my feet. Dr. Bowles said, "You know, Josh, if you don't change, you may not see your 60th birthday. You can't go on like this." However, I might have figured out why our body seems like it's programmed to store fat whenever you eat. It turns out there's the one hormone that everyone has called insulin. And basically, your body produces insulin whenever you eat to help move sugar from the blood into your cells, where it can be used for energy. You see, insulin works like a key, unlocking cells to help deliver sugar from the blood. Every cell in your body has a lock on its cell wall, called a receptor, too. Insulin fits into that lock like a key, allowing sugar to enter the cells to be used for energy. However, with some people who have 15 or more pounds to lose, your pancreas, which releases the insulin, starts to malfunction. Like an uncontrollable fire hose whipping around, spraying gallons of wasted water. So your body is constantly releasing all this insulin because of this strange hormonal mix-up. And what happens is, over time, your cells get immune to the insulin and basically stop using the hormone altogether. It's like the key won't fit in the lock anymore. And if it does, it can't turn. Over time, your cells become resistant to the insulin because your body is producing so much of it when it shouldn't be. And since your body is basically rejecting it, the insulin ends up in your bloodstream and gets stored around your belly as fat. Have you ever seen someone who's in incredible shape eat a big piece of cake, or maybe some ice cream, or a big juicy burger with a plate full of French fries? They can do that and not gain an ounce because their insulin isn't misfiring every time they take a bite of food. However, if you ate that same exact meal, you could gain a few pounds almost overnight because of the chaos going on inside with your hidden hormonal glitch. I couldn't believe it. Don't you just hate the people who can eat whatever they want and not gain a single pound, and yet, when you decide to enjoy yourself and have some tasty treats, the weight seems to pile up faster than ever? Well, now you know why. Many people suffer from this hidden hormonal glitch and yet barely any of them know about it. After all, I never would have figured it out if it wasn't for Derek shining a light on this epidemic that everyone seems to be sweeping under the rug. Instead, you just hear all the same boring advice like eat more veggies, or exercise harder, when the truth is, none of that matters if your body is flooded with insulin around the clock, seeping into your bloodstream and forcing your body to store fat instead of burn it off for energy. And it's even more serious in women, putting you at greater risk of obesity, diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, breast cancer, and even polycystic ovarian syndrome, PCOS. 1. This aging hormone flowing throughout your body at all hours of the day, long after you've had anything to eat, makes weight loss virtually impossible. Then, as I was about to leave the doctor's office feeling defeated with a host of health issues that may take me away from my wife way too soon, Dr. Bowles asked, "Do you like soup?" Thrown off by his question, I mumbled something close to a yes while still trying to figure out why in the world he would ask me something like that. And over the next few minutes, he started showing me this strange soup detox that some of his patients went on and lost a ton of weight. Men and women in their 30s, 40s, 50s, even some in their late 70s and 80s were getting leaner as they got older by simply eating this strange soup recipes. And it was like nothing I'd ever seen before. Because I was used to the same old chicken noodle and tomato soups that were fine but never lead me to lose any amount of weight. And don't even get me started on all the popular cleanses where you basically put a bunch of water in pot and cook it with raw veggies. Because not only does it taste awful, you end up gaining all the weight back once you start eating real food again. And yet, as my doctor was showing me this, I was scribbling down notes as fast as possible. I mean, after weighing in at over 300 pounds and realizing I was insulin resistant, I was desperate and willing to try anything to lose the weight. Have you ever been there before? Where it feels like the world is crashing down on you. You absolutely hate how you look and feel every day. Yet you put on a good face and act like everything is okay when deep down you'd rather just lay in bed all day and not face the cruel world in fear of being judged or talked about behind your back. I can honestly say that's where I was, and I had to get out of there fast. As I walked out of the doctor's office on that hot and sunny afternoon, I sat in my car feeling absolutely defeated. It all finally started to sink in. Being pre-diabetic. Horribly unhappy and frustrated with my body. And all I could think of was 30 years later, after being humiliated and picked on by everyone at school because of my weight. Now it might cost me my life. Even worse, I was furious at myself for letting it get to this point again. Just then, my phone rang. It was Coach Derek checking in on me after the doctor's appointment. When I answered, I could barely speak. It's hard to admit, but tears started rolling down my face. And then, it all came out. I told him everything. The bullying. Having food thrown in my face. Being picked on, shoved to the ground, and treated like someone who wasn't even a human being. And the thoughts of ending it all. He asked me how my wife felt about this, and I didn't even have the heart to tell her yet. Thankfully, he quickly changed the topic and we started talking about what to do next. And after mentioning insulin resistance, a light bulb went off in his head. See, he started trying out this morning trick with some of his personal and online clients, and it's basically where you reprogram your fat-burning hormones so they flood your body and start eating up your stored fat for fuel. And it works even if you're insulin resistant, diabetic, or have 10 or more pounds to lose. Since this morning trick didn't take any extra time out of my day, I decided to give it a shot. And to get even faster results. He told me about this spoonful of instant energy I should take after waking up that switches your metabolism to burn more fat. It wasn't one of those high-priced energy drinks that's full of sugar and only makes you fatter. It wasn't some high-priced supplement or powder. And it had nothing to do with drinking more coffee or caffeine, because that only makes you more tired later on in the day, when you come crashing down and need another fix to keep you going. In fact, you probably have all 3 ingredients for the instant energy in your kitchen right now. And since it was so simple and so easy, I started doing it the next day. And because I was insulin resistant and my body had trouble processing all forms of sugar and even some carbs, which you could tell simply by looking at the extra fat around my belly and waistline, Coach Derek had me cut out 2 popular fruits that were causing more harm than good. See, these 2 popular fruits are perfectly fine when you don't have any weight to lose. However, if you do have 15 or more pounds to lose, your body is likely getting a high blood sugar spike from those sugary fruits and storing them as fat around your belly. And we coupled all this with my doctor's strange soup detox, and that's when it happened. Sure, I started losing weight quickly, however. The soups tasted absolutely awful. There was no salt. No flavor. And I had to plug my nose just to choke it down. So even though I was losing weight and burning fat faster than ever, I knew it wouldn't last because I couldn't stand eating like this for another minute. Desperate to make something happen, my wife, who's an amazing cook, started adding in these secret spices that not only made the soup pop, it also tasted amazing, and since I could eat as much as I wanted, it was like I was in heaven and I was never hungry for a single minute. And as the pounds started melting off, as my body began to detox the extra weight and toxins out of my body, all by simply using these simple detox secrets and shortcuts, my clothes started fitting better. My energy levels went through the roof. I was no longer exhausted and worn out after another 50-hour work week. And my relationship with my wife got so much better because my self-esteem went through the roof as my belly got flatter and my body leaner. And the honest truth is, if you have 10 or more pounds to lose, then you have to know one thing. It's not your fault. You simply didn't have a solution that worked for you. And if deep down you think insulin resistance may be the hidden hormonal glitch holding you back from having the body you desire and deserve, then here's the truth. You may not be getting enough sleep. which is why you may feel sluggish and tired even if you get a full night's sleep. A few days later, I called Derek and couldn't believe what I was about to say. I was down 7 pounds. I felt better than ever with amazing energy, and a focus that even my boss at work instantly realized. It's like everything was finally coming together. However, I was still skeptical if the results would last. After all, I went on my first diet as a teenager and everyone ended horribly. Always gaining more weight in the end than when I started. And since I was losing so much weight so quickly, I didn't think it could possibly keep going. Then I dropped another 16 pounds. I just kept following the simple outline that Derek gave me, and once the weight started melting off, relieving all the pressure on my knees, ankles, and joints, I started adding in some short, 4-minute low-impact movements that Derek gave me to do right in my own living room. That quickly boosted my metabolism and strengthened my joints, which were nearly ruined from all the high-intensity exercises I did in my 20s, trying to slim down and get leaner, only to end up feeling exhausted and more miserable than ever. And the soup detox recipes kept getting better and better as Derek and my wife uncovered more miracle herbs and spices that made them taste amazing.